Super excited to be here. Good afternoon to everyone. And a very inciting session from Joy. I was blessed from your session because purpose discovery is one of the areas that I feel makes a difference in an individual's life. And if you can just discover purpose and very much on time, it makes a lot of difference. So thank you so much, Joy. And I believe every one person on the call did get value. And thank you, Mr. Joshua, for having me on board. I'm glad and excited to be a part of this platform. And without much ado, I will be focusing on identifying and building your career path. Identifying and building your career path. And these are some of the quotes. These are some quotes to reflect on as we kickstart our discourse for today. It's one by Anthony Robbins who says, and I quote, "Whatever you hold in your mind on a consistent basis is exactly what you experience in your life." We'll be sharing a lot of things in this session and even a lot more from the speakers that have been and the speakers that will be. It's important you begin to idealize. It's important you begin to create a vision of what you want for your life. It's important you begin to have that vision or have that picture of what you want to experience and hold it dearly. If possible, you have to war with it, and you will see yourself eventually experiencing that which you want to, or which you've designed or programmed your life to experience. I am one of such persons who have witnessed this over and over again. Another quote I'd like you to reflect on is that a dream written down with a date becomes a goal. A goal broken down into steps becomes a plan, and a plan backed by actions makes your dream come true. So it's one thing to have a dream, but you need to take the extra step of writing it down. You need to take the extra step of writing it down. Then it becomes a goal. And it's one thing to have a goal, but a goal not broken down into steps wouldn't be a plan. You wouldn't have a plan on how to achieve that goal. So you need to say, okay, I want to become this, or I want to achieve this. To achieve this, I need to do A, B, C, D in order to achieve this. So your steps makes your goal a plan. And when you have a plan, you need to take the action. You have action plans, you have action steps. You need to take the steps. I love to say that without execution, your dream will just be a dream. Without execution, your dream will just be a dream, because we'll be sharing a lot of things here. What is going to matter is what you use this information to do. Because I've been to seminars, I've been to sessions, and it's those sessions that have actually applied what has been taught or what I've written down that I got maximum delivery. So if you're expecting me to make you feel good, I might make you feel good, but I might not also make you feel good. But my end goal at the end of the day is that you become better, you become a better version of yourself, and that would give me the greatest fulfillment there is. So moving into our discourse for today, having reflected on this quote, on the quotes, defining a career pathway. A career pathway is a detailed plan that shows how one can go up the corporate ladder in a certain industry. So you've identified a certain industry or a certain sector you want to operate in, and you want to come up with a career pathway on how to navigate your journey up until the top. Because for any career focus, any career sector, any career industry that you've chosen to be part of, there is always an would I say an Achilles heel or a topmost top where you should be aiming for, or where that career progression leads to. For example, if it's in education, you can start off as a teacher. I want to believe we can see my slides. Yeah. You can just put a chat in the chat box if you can see my slides. Yeah. So
Yes, we can see a slide.
okay, wonderful. Wonderful. So if it's in education, you can start at being a teacher. From a teacher, you can move up to a curriculum coordinator. From a curriculum coordinator, you can move to become an assistant principal or the vice principal, as many call it. And from a vice principal, you can move to becoming a principal. And it doesn't stop there. You can move from being a principal and you are appointed up until a minister of education or a commissioner of education in a state. So you can have that career progression. That's what career pathway is all about. So if you identify an industry or a sector you want to future in, how do I move from the basic phase to the very top of the phase? How do I move from entry role to specialized or being an authority in this field? Another example is that you can become in sales, you can start off as a sales executive and move up to a senior sales executive or a sales team lead. And from there, you can move up to becoming a sales manager. And from there, you can move up to become a regional sales manager. And from there, you can become a chief sales and distribution officer in the organization. If it's technology, for example, let's say you're an entry-level developer, you can start up as an entry-level developer, move to mid-level, move to senior, move to team lead, and also move to a managerial role. So there is always a pathway in any career you've chosen to function in. It's also a step further is outlining the necessary credentials, work history, education for each rung of the ladder. So for each phase you will need to get to in your career pathway, there are list of credentials, list of educations, list of experiences or skill sets you should have, and when you have this outlined, it aids people in comprehending the process of climbing the corporate ladder. It aids you you can't say you've just had 1 year experience in being a salesman and you want to be a chief sales officer. No. You will make a mess of the job when you get there. That's even if you get there, because you might not be given a shot even at the interview. So you need to understand, what are the skill sets I need to have as a sales executive. So you might just be your targets might just be on you. You are responsible for your targets, but at a chief level, you are responsible for a whole country. So you are managing regional sales managers who are in turn managing team leads who are in turn managing the sales executives. So you see that at least to get to that level, one of the skills that must be in place is leadership. So that's what a career pathway is all about. So going a step further. So to successfully chart the course of a career pathway, you must identify the sector you want to operate in. You must identify the sector you want to operate in. Like I said earlier, you must identify that this is the sector, this is the industry I want to future in. Is it sales? Is it technology? Is it education? Is it health and safety? Is it non-profit management? You need to identify the sector you want to operate in. And that's also linking to what Joy have said. You need to discover what you want to do and discover it on time. And if you get to that point where what you want to do and what you have as a job meets together at an intersection, oh, you are living the dream. Because some persons still have a job that they do and they still have something they do that grants them purpose fulfillment. The next thing you have to do to successfully chart a career pathway is that you must have a vision. You must have a vision. Bishop Oyedepo said it's the mental picture about your future. You must have a vision. I'm stepping into this industry. I've identified the sector, the industry I want to operate in. What vision do I have? And it's important, it's very critical to having a vision, because it's a vision that enables you stay motivated throughout your journey. It's a vision that enables you stay motivated, because there will be times when you will think of giving up. There will be times when you will go for a position and you're bounce back. You go again and you're bounce back. It's your vision to get to the top that will keep you going. The next thing is that you need to define what progression looks like. You need to define what progression looks like. Just like the previous slide, in education, you move from a teacher to a school coordinator, from a school or curriculum coordinator to a vice principal, to a principal, or to a commissioner of education, to a minister of education. You need to define what progression looks like, because what you don't define, you don't know. You need to define it. You need to have the picture right in front of you so that when you're making the progress, you can track it. You can track it. The next thing you need to do is you need to identify what skills and qualifications are required for the progression. So I want to move from a teacher to a curriculum coordinator. What skills are required to move from this level to this level? What qualifications? Perhaps I needed a level 3 teaching qualification to be a teacher. To be a curriculum coordinator, do I need an extra level of certification? And what is that certification? I need to go for it. The next thing is you need to recognize the development opportunities where you are. You know, I hear people complain a lot. They want progression. They want to move from one level to another. But they fail to recognize that where they are at the moment, there are development opportunities. You need to utilize it. Some companies, some organizations have e-learning courses that are limitless. Some of them are in partnership with the likes of Coursera, Udemy. If you have such platforms within your organization or within where you are, utilize those platforms. The next, which I've touched a bit, is that you need to stay motivated throughout your journey. Navigating a career path right up to the top is a marathon, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. It's not something that can be done in a year. It's a marathon. Sometimes it takes 5 to 10 years. Sometimes it takes 15 years. But you must be committed to the journey. And that is why it's important to have a vision, because it's a vision that leads you right to the very end. It's a vision that leads you right to the very end. Okay. Yeah. So the benefits of career pathway planning and execution: it gives you clarity regarding professional advancements and prospects. It gives you an increased motivation and engagement. Increased motivation and engagement by setting clear goals. When you have clear goals of where you want to get to from A to point B, you have that motivation. And when you achieve A to B, it gives you the motivation to pursue C. So there are also opportunities for skill development and professional advancement. So before I go into this, I tell you a story of myself. So I studied philosophy, just like you read in my profile. And the time came, obviously, I've been thinking deeply. I was involved in quite a lot of things, and a time came when I had to sit down and say, what do I really want to do? What do I really want to do? And in the job role that I did at the time, I was doing sales management, operations, resource management. I was managing people, and I was also managing the health. I was also overseeing health and safety management. And I thought to myself, out of these four things that are my responsibilities, what is that one thing that is a niche area that I can measure in? And I looked at all these and I found health and safety management to stand out. And I did my research around health and safety, did further research, and I found the courses, the qualifications that I needed to break in, at least to get an entry level job, and gradually progress into the career path. And I did that, having identified the qualification, the skill sets that I needed, and also revamping my CV to fit, because I was doing health and safety management, but I had never really paid attention to it. I was just doing it as part of my job. I revamped my CV, went for those certifications, put them in place, got those certifications, and began aggressively applying. And sometimes you are entering or breaking into an industry and you're attending interviews, you're not getting traction, or you're wanting to move from one level to another. I need you to understand that something is forming within you, but you are not realizing it. For each interview you go to and you didn't succeed, you're building another layer of experience. You keep building that experience because interviews are also learning processes. So don't feel bad when you get to an interview and you fail at it. No, go again, go again, go again. I had to do almost 10 interviews before I successfully transitioned into health and safety career. And I know that I will keep building till I get to the very top because I found that one thing that I'm passionate about. So goal setting which relates to career planning. So just like I've mentioned earlier, for example, I'm giving an example with a health and safety career. You've identified the sector you want to operate in as health and safety. The entry level role for this health and safety career is health and safety assistant or assistant health and safety officer or health and safety administrator. And for this kind of roles, you need 0 to 2 years experience. What are the skills needed? Basic health and safety regulations awareness, risk assessment fundamentals, incident reporting. So if you can basically know how to spell your name or handle a Microsoft document, you can do an entry-level health and safety job. What are the education required? Basic first aid training, IOSH certification. You can do IOSH working safely or IOSH managing safely, or you can do a NIBOSH general certificate, and you're good to go. The next action step, what are the action steps you need to take? It's to secure an entry-level role, complete a foundational certification, then shadow senior health and safety professionals. You know someone on LinkedIn, you get on LinkedIn who is a health and safety professional, you reach out to them, ask them for tips, ask them for insight, and many times they are happy to help. They are happy to show you the path that they've walked in. And if you consistently keep going, you'll finally get an entry point. And from there, you begin to move your way to mid-level, a health and safety advisor, a health and safety coordinator. Within the next 3 to 5 years, you also identify what qualifications do I need, what skills do I need, what action steps do I need to take, up until the very time when you become like a head of health and safety and environment. And that takes years, it takes timeline, it takes years of experience, it takes a level of exposure, education, managing people, managing complex systems with regards to health and safety. So this is like a typical goal setting plan when you want to chart your career pathway journey. Okay, I hope you're getting value. I hope you're getting value. Can you say something on the chat box if you're getting the value needed in, or the value you signed up for? Okay, so skill acquisition in career pathway planning and execution. So what is skill acquisition? Skill acquisition refers to the process of learning and developing new abilities, whether cognitive, physical, or social. So that's what skill acquisition is all about. So in your career pathway planning and in your career progression journey, you would need to be acquiring some skills. You would need to develop new sets of learnings, new sets of abilities. If you've not led before and you want to step into a leadership role, a team leader role, you would need to acquire that skill of leadership. If you've not done a risk assessment before, or you want to you're in a human resources career and you want to move from a human resource assistant to a human resource advisor or officer, and you've not interviewed people before, you will need to learn that skill of interviewing, that skill of recruiting. So these skills, there is no skill that cannot be acquired. There is no skill that cannot be acquired. All you have to do is be intentional towards obtaining and achieving that skill to a certain level. And when you acquire such a skill, don't be bothered about, oh, I'm not so good at it. It is consistency that delivers to you professionalism or that level of perfectionism. If you're not doing it, you can never get to the state of perfection. If you are not in it, if you are not consistently doing it, you can't get to that state of perfection. So in order to get to that state of perfection, you need to be in it. You need to be doing. You need to be doing. You need to be in it. So what are the ways to achieve skill acquisition? Some of these steps I'm teaching you is something that has worked for me. The first, which is like my number one go-to, is volunteering. You want to acquire a skill, you want to break into a sector, pick up a volunteering scheme, go in to volunteer. You can reach out to a senior officer in that field you want to go to and say, this is a career path I want to get into and I'm looking to get to the top by the grace of God. I want to volunteer to be part of this. And or you see startups, you see NGOs in your churches. Churches are one of the greatest places to volunteer. You step into a church and there are no health and safety management systems in place. With what you're learning online, you volunteer to be a health and safety officer in church. You might be doing it free of charge, voluntarily, but it's a work experience that you can put on your CV. Great opportunity. How did I know Joshua? We served in NCCF. I got a great opportunity to serve as an evangelism coordinator, a state evangelism coordinator. And it was a volunteering opportunity. I wasn't paid for it, but it gave me so great experience and a lot of value. My first Joy was talking about the last exercise Joy asked us to work on. I put mine up, and that outreach program was the first ever time I spoke to a crowd of over 500. In short, it was my first public speaking engagement in a high school. I can't forget, Obazu Girls Secondary School in Umbieri. And when I stood in front of the student, I felt like the ground should open and I should disappear because I was practically shaking, but I still overcame by still delivering the message I had for the day, and I succeeded at it. And I didn't do it perfectly, but doing it consistently over time, volunteering to do it over and over again, gave me that level of perfectionism, as you may want to put it, wherever, or that perfect state. And that's why I can come today and speak to you. The next is formal education and training. It's another route to acquiring skill acquisition. Being on a training, attending a seminar as this, taking up a degree, a master's degree, a PhD, it helps you acquire skills. The next is on-the-job training. When you get a job, obviously there is always a training package allocated to that job. Make judicious use of it. The next is self-learning and online resources. I'm a big fan of self-learning and online resources. I like to learn at my pace because I'm getting to that stage of my life where I'm very busy. I have a family, I have a little girl my little daughter to look after, I have a wife, I still have a job. So self-learning does a great deal for me. So there are platforms, Coursera, Udemy, Allison, name it, where you can learn at your pace and acquire a skill, be it in business analysis, project management, product management. All these career paths can be learned if only you would pay the price of time and perhaps your resources. Yeah. The next is networking and peer learning. Networking with people in this meeting today, getting to connect to someone, getting to know someone, or you attend the meeting or a physical session, connecting to people, connecting to professionals in that field, learning from someone who is at the same level as you are, and you people are motivating each other, can make a whole lot of difference in acquiring a skill, because there are some things you know, and there are some things the other person knows. You can exchange value. The next is working on side projects or freelancing. So you want to go into this field, you can begin to acquire the skills by freelancing on Upwork and the rest of them, simulations and gamifications. And not the final part is teaching others. Teaching others. Whatever you've learned, you can communicate it to others. It makes you a master in that skill. So if you've learned something and you've not perfected on it, one of the fastest way to perfect is to try to teach it to someone else. And you will find yourself acquiring that skill that you so desire. Okay, so another aspect I want to talk about is growth strategy. So career growth strategy. So you've mapped out your career progression plan or your career pathway plan. What are the things I need to do in order to grow in this career? The first thing is growth mindset. You must have a growth mindset as against a fixed mindset. Always believe that things are possible. Look at things from the optimistic view rather than the pessimistic view. Have a growth mindset. If you encounter an obstacle on your way, think about solutions. Don't think about or stay focused on the obstacle. The next thing, you need to own your growth. You need to own your growth. Nobody will do it for you. Nobody would help you grow the way you will help yourself grow. You need to own your growth. Just this year, I've spent over £3,000 on my self-education, self-learning, self-education. I've paid for certifications and learnings that I'm yet to take, but I have them all mapped out, and I'm gradually taking it one step at a time. I'm intentional about my growth. You need to see yourself as an enterprise and invest in yourself. And that is when you will get the necessary return of investment. If you don't invest in yourself, nobody will. You need to be intentional about investing in yourself. My time is almost up. Own your growth, invest in yourself. Be seen and be heard. If you're in a job, be seen and be heard. Be visible. On LinkedIn, be visible. Post whatever new thing you're learning in your job. Be seen, be heard. You complete a project, and make sure that those who matter recognize your job and know that you were the one that did this and did that. Build mentorship relationship. You're in the workplace, you are trying now to break into a career. Build mentorship relationship, because a mentor will get you faster on your career pathway rather than you just doing it on your own, because you can always glean from the experience of a mentor. Finally, embrace technology trends. Having a piece of the cake in tech. Having a piece of the cake in tech, because technology is changing, fast changing a lot of things. So you need to understand how you can embrace technology to make your work better, smarter, and faster. And that way, by employing these strategies, you will find yourself climbing and progressing through the corporate ladder of whatever field or career that you want to future in. Thank you very much for being part of today's session. I'm glad and I do believe that you've gotten value and that these few words of mine have left a level of impact or have provoked a thinking within you that you would use to scale to the next level of your life. Thank you so much.